Welcome everybody from the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you here today. Once again, we're looking at our urban parking system repository that's been designed and developed in Enterprise Architect. My name's Scott Hebbard and I'm joined by Stephen Maguire, and today we're going to look at the business process cooperation viewpoint in ArchiMate, and we're going to see how that can be created and developed using Enterprise Architect. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you for the introduction, Scott, and always a pleasure to be here. Yes, we're focusing back on ArchiMate, the language and framework for representing enterprise architectures. In a previous video, we constructed a viewpoint called the organization viewpoint. Now, as always, before we start, we need to set our perspective, and that allows the tool to focus on what we're wanting to do today. Earlier today, I've been doing some decision modeling. I'm going to drop down the perspective sets there, and I'm going to go into enterprise architecture and the ArchiMate language and framework. So click on that. Notice the tool changes its focus to focus on ArchiMate. I can expand these elements here, and you can see here that the tool has a number of patterns already preformed for you, the organization viewpoint, and the one we're going to be focusing on today, the business process cooperation viewpoint. And you can see that there it's brought up the pattern. I can create that in my model simply by clicking the create model button, and there's documentation about how that pattern can be used, including references and tools that you might find useful. But as always, Scott, I like to start from first principles, show people how to do this from scratch, but I welcome people to return to this page and to create the patterns and get the productivity gains that you get from reusing this pre-built pattern. So let's close that builder page and let's talk about this this particular viewpoint, which is this business process cooperation viewpoint. So let's now look into our repository and some places where we can put this. We've got an enterprise node in here under the urban parking system there, and I can go into that and we can see that we've got enterprise architecture node, business architecture, and we've got an organization viewpoint created in a previous video. Let's expand this a little bit and let's create a new package there. So we'll create that package and we'll put in the business process cooperation viewpoint, and we'll do package only there. And let's now use the little arrow keys on the project browser toolbar to move that, change the order of it, and we'll bring that down. You know, Scott, if you've been listening to these videos, people will know that I like to put in notes into the packages that explain what the package is containing. So I'm not going to make this one up myself. I'm getting it from the specification, from the ArchiMate 3.2 specification, and it talks about what that process cooperation viewpoint is used for, to show the relationship of one or more business processes with each other and or with their environment. It can be used both to create high-level design and business processes within the context. So let's have a look at what we're going to do here. One thing I just want to reiterate, Scott, is the library before we get started. There's a library here that we've been developing, and it's got the ArchiMate specification in it. If we double click on that, that will launch the specification in the browser. But we've also got the ArchiMate best practice principles. So these can be developed by your organization, and they talk about consistency, clarity, purpose-driven modeling, diagram specific guidelines. So start with high-level business services and processes, clearly distinguish between internal and external actors and roles, etc. So I encourage you to develop your own standards, guidelines, but that is useful because it's right there at your fingertips.
And everybody in the team can access that library, so everyone's on the same page.
That's right, Scott. And in fact, teams that are working in a different part of your organization can also access that library. So very, very flexible and very available. Let's flick our focus back to the browser window here, and we've got the business process cooperation viewpoint there. Let's go and create a new diagram, and we'll look at that one there, and we'll see the business process cooperation viewpoint there. We'll select that and create a new diagram. But the significance of selecting that node underneath the business group there, Scott, is that it will create the diagram and put the right toolbox in place for us to do our work. So now I can see that there are a number of elements in our toolbox, in the active structure there, and behavioral. I'll just put that behavioral concepts, and we've also got some passive structure and some structural relationships there. So let's get started and let's create our first element here. And let's give this a number when we're doing this, and we'll put this on as a business process. So onto our diagram, there's a business process. Let's drag it onto the screen there and put the name of it in there. And let's make it a bit bigger. What I'm going to do that because what I want to do is actually contain processes inside this one. So as always, Scott, I like to put some notes into the element. So the notes window's open there, ready for input. Put that in and the notes are in there. The next thing I want to do is I want to put in an element, another process, but inside this one. So I can put that in there.
When you put it inside, what does that actually mean in reality?
Well, it means that there's an overarching process, and then that process is made up of some sub-processes, if you like. So if you're familiar with business process model and notation, or even the close cousin, the flow chart, you know that that things need to be broken down. You know, we do something at a high level, and then we go into that high level and we put in the constituent or the parts, that the processes that make that up. So let's say that this is find parking. So we've got parking management process that the customer needs to find the parking first. And you know, how does that start? Well, let's put in a business event, and we'll put that into the diagram. You can see over here that there's a business event here. And let's put that in, and that's gone in there. And let's link that to the find parking process. So we drag the connector, target that one, and the relationship we need is triggers. So that's gonna trigger it. Now I'm going to show you something, Scott. I like to do this. The default behavior of the tool is to display these elements with the icon in the top right hand corner. You notice these have got rounded corners. I'll leave it up to the audience to have a look through the specification and tell me why these ones have got rounded corners and not your traditional 90-degree corners that you find, rectangular corners that you see with other elements. So let's now right mouse click on this element and go advanced here. Well, actually, we'll go to appearance and we'll say use rectangular notation. We'll turn that off. So, and then we get the icon shaped like this.
It's taken the shape of the icon itself now.
Exactly. So it's become that. Now that's not something that Enterprise Architect or the good developers at Sparx Systems have dreamed up. That is part of the specification, that you can view these in these different ways. So that's a useful thing to do. And let's just move that a little bit closer there. Let's continue our story here a little bit. We haven't got these element names and things in. Let's put this in here, and we'll click on this, and we'll say it's arrival at destination, meaning that you've arrived at the venue that you're going to, the event that you're going to, and that's going to be. Put some notes in there. Perhaps that's not the right notes for that. Let me just get the right notes for that particular one, and let's put them into our diagram, into our model. Now we're just going to continue this here. What we can do is we can use the quick linker there and drag out here and say we want to put another element here. It's triggering and to a business process. We can actually, let me have a look at this. We can use a flows to one. We're not triggering there. It's just flowing from the find parking one to the business,
to the next one,
to the next one here. And let's call this make payment. So we've found our parking location now thing, and we'll just go make payment. I should have written make payment there. Let's change that. Very easy to do. So that's make payment there. We can space these guys out. And, you know, we can put in some other elements here, Scott. Like one of the things that we could put in is a business object. The tool allows us to put in a business object. And so we've got those down here. You can see down here that there's a business object there. Let's drag that in and let's place that there. And let's call this parking permit. So in some cases, motorists have got particular permits, like to park outside their house or to park outside a venue if they're a part of the organisation. And let's put a link in here. There's a number of different links that we can put in, but let's put in accesses there. We could put in associated with as well, but that's a little bit more specific there. Again, let's put in some notes for that parking permit. And I might just put that into singular there. You can put permits, but I will just keep it as singular. And the event that initiates the parking process when a driver reaches there. It's not the notes for that one, so we'll get those notes copied properly. I was still in my buffer from the other one. A digital or physical authorization that grants parking rights to a vehicle in specific zones. So that's the beginning of this model. Again, we can, align elements using the quick grid lines and other features of the tool. What I'm going to get to do, Scott, is to perform some of your time travel, and we'll get this diagram finished, and then we can talk about it in a bit more detail.
Welcome back. We've done a little bit of time travel and editing magic, and here we are with our finalized business process cooperation diagram. So when might you use a business process cooperation diagram in ArchiMate?
So, Scott, an interesting question. We can use these to represent processes and the hierarchy of processes, if you like. You can see that with this main element here, the parking meter process. And some people in this viewpoint just concentrate on the processes. Other people will concentrate on other elements, like we've got here. We've got some objects, some data objects as well, business objects there. Let's have a look at this, and we'll just click on those. You can see there's a business object there, and that's being accessed by this find parking meter. And we've got a parking meter parking management service there. Again, the relationship there is a realization. So the process realizes that service. We've got another payment record there, and a number of other objects. We've got some actors down here and a role there. And we've got this location object as well. So we've got a parking level, and it's been made up or composed of different parking bays. So this parking level is clearly looking at some sort of high-rise parking structure that might be attached to a government venue or a private venue. So that's an interesting element that's introduced there. So one thing I want to do, Scott, is you can see the diagram notes there that are reflecting in the diagram here. So the diagram shows how these elements interact with the parking management system. And now I want to put in a legend. These connectors have got particular notations about the little markers on them. So what I want to do is put a legend in there. So let's get the legend from our libraries here. We've got a library of legends, and it's the ArchiMate connector legend. Let's drag that on, and let's see what happens there. Now you can see that there are a bunch of relationships there, and we don't have some of them in here. So, for example, in our legend, we are colouring this one here, we're colouring that one, and we don't have some of them in there. So what we can do, just to show you how easy that is, we've got this one here, the triggers one there. What I can do is I'm going to tuck my toolbox away for a minute, and I'm going to focus on this legend and just show how easy it is just to add another one to the legend. So let's have a look at this one here. It's the trigger ArchiMate triggers. ArchiMate triggering there. So let's go into our connector legend there. Click on the legend, and let's again move this across a little bit. I'm going to make a little bit more space here, Scott, and move this across as well. And we'll look at our legend. Here we've got elements and connectors. So we click on the connector panel, the connector tab there. We've got a bunch of ones in already. Let's add an ArchiMate realization. We've got that there, and let's put in a name for that one. It's realization. You'll see that will drop that off the legend. Save that, and the ArchiMate serving one. Again, we'll put in a name for that. So just a little bit of refresher for people on the legends. So that's serving. And now we want to add another one. Now it's simply a matter of saying new, and we need to put in the value, which was ArchiMate triggering.
Yep.
And let's choose a line color for that. And let's just choose something for the moment. Let's go for this color here, and let's hit save on that. And now you can see that updated there. So let's have a look and look at that. That's triggering. These ones look like they're triggering as well, and just a bit of refactoring. And this is something I want to explain to people. We've created this diagram in a way that shows the connectors, and the value of that is that look at this connector here between these two here. It's saying triggering. It's not the right connector there. So let's have a look, and it should be a flow connector. So let's turn the triggering one off and turn that one on, and we can see now that we've got that one flowing there. It's flowing ArchiMate flow, and this one here is not a triggering one. Again, it's an ArchiMate flow.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell, Scott, about the business process cooperation viewpoint. And we've seen that there are a number of elements that we can add to this, and the business benefit of it, being able to see how different objects, including location and these business objects of permits, how a particular process gets triggered. And also we've got motorists and driver there related to this.
No, I think it's really powerful, and it helps convey information, and an enterprise architect might look at that and think, oh, we really need to think about what details need to be in parking permit and what information needs to flow the motorist. And yeah, so it's a great starting point in ArchiMate. So that's great. To our audience, I'd like to thank you for joining us once again. We really appreciate you viewing our videos, commenting and giving us feedback. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, we encourage you to like, comment and subscribe to Sparx Systems YouTube channel to hear the latest and greatest videos from Sparx Systems. And once again, thank you, Stephen, for your contribution and your expertise. It's been great to see how easy it is to develop a diagram in the business collaboration viewpoint. So thank you once again.
My pleasure, Scott. And always remember, these diagrams are a work in progress. So you're not going to get everything right the first time on a diagram. We've seen that here today with some of the things that we've changed. That will be a common theme in your own work, where you've put a relationship in, you've made some sort of a change to the diagram, and then you can refactor it and correct it. And some of those things like the legends are helping you to see and visualize the diagram more clearly.
Yes, modeling certainly is an iterative process, and it develops over time. So great to see that in action again today. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.